It is, what time is it? 8:03 on Tuesday, August 6th, and I want to call to order the meeting of the Westborough EDC. Welcome, everyone. We're excited to have everybody here. And before we get into anything else, for the first order of business, I just want to welcome Karen Chapman, who is the president and CEO of Corridor 9 Chamber of Commerce. And we are very excited. She is our newest member of the EDC. Karen brings over 22 years of leadership experience with the chamber, over 40 years altogether working with different businesses and chamber organizations. So we're really happy to have her here.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Pleased to be working with all of you, too. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Karen. All right. So that brings us to the first order of business, which is to approve the minutes for July 9th, 2024.
I make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. And we're going to need to do a roll call. So Kenny, yes?
Bagden, yes.
I'm going to abstain since I wasn't at the last meeting.
Leonardo, yes.
Williams, yes.
Keough, yes.
Karen?
Henderson, yes.
Jenny there?
Yep. Gingras, yes.
Okay. All right, fabulous. That leads us right into 8:05, the Economic Development Coordinator position, and Fred's going to talk about that for a few minutes.
Sure, thank you. I'm sorry to say that Mark Zeff has left the town of Westborough, so that's left an opening for that position. It is posted on our website and various other sites, so if we know of any candidates, be happy to entertain that interviews for those people.
Okay. Now we're going to move on. Hopefully everybody had a chance to look at the rubric for the EDC grants that we all know and love that we've had for a while, and we're just going to review a little bit of that today. Just as a quick background for those of you who don't know, but I think everybody here does know, every year we have $60,000 allocated every fiscal year to provide financial assistance to businesses meant to stimulate vacant storefronts and underutilized commercial space in the town of Westborough. And Fred, you can tell me how long the program's been going on. I know it's been quite a while, but I guess we had a dip with COVID and then it really gained popularity.
Yeah, we actually started the awards about a year or so before that. So they really took, that first year was a little bit, there weren't a ton of it. And then COVID was very strange. And then we kind of came out of that. So it's been strong for the last 2 or 3 years anyway.
Yeah.
Very strong, actually, for applications.
Yeah, so we're sort of a victim of our own success because it's been
Yes.
it's been a very strong program, lots of applications, and done some really good things with it. But over the last, I guess, year and a half, we all worked together to develop a rubric, kind of a scoring system, so that we can determine eligibility among each of the applicants. So I think I'm just going to open it up to the board if anybody wants to bring any points up. I have some things as far as what we might want to see with the rubric, what we might want to, get rid of, change a bit, something like that. Anybody have anything? Karen?
So I like your rubric a lot. So my only question is, applicant is either is either retail, restaurant. Is there something you can make it a little more broad? Are we limiting to who can apply for this? And this is my first meeting, so I'm asking a question.
No, so if I may, I'll answer that. So what the intent of that particular line is to give them the business points if they happen to be one of those particular type of businesses.
Okay.
So it's not that they're disqualified if they don't have it, they just don't get the 10 points. So it's to encourage those type of businesses to apply.
Gotcha.
It's kind of an incentive as opposed to a disincentive. And I apologize, the applicant for either committed long-term lease, that's supposed to be 10 points.
Yeah.
On your copies I gave you, it does show that as 10 points.
And so this, Karen, is the new business rubric. We have another one for
Okay.
existing businesses. And then it's weighted and ends up being supposed to be 100 points, essentially.
Okay, gotcha. Thank
And
you.
then what we do is we go through all of the applicants, and based on this rubric, essentially, we make our recommendations. And
Okay.
yeah, Christy.
I don't have a specific suggestion for the rubric, but I'm just wondering if we should review it against master plan goals, because I think that we talk a lot about, when we're going through some of this, we talk a lot about businesses downtown, and I think our interest in encouraging businesses downtown. And so I think I don't know if it's adding one or maybe rephrasing one to make sure we're aligning with the master plan.
Well,
I
there
think
is
that's
a
a great
project
idea.
downtown business zoning district gets 10 points.
Yeah, I guess I'm just saying that there's a whole, I mean, there's
Yeah.
pages of master plan goals. I think just making sure that we review it in line with that, because I think we developed it probably at the same time that was being finalized.
That's true. Can I, Holly, if I may just interrupt for a second, if there's any confusion, we are not hearing the grants this month. We're going to do that next month. So if anybody's here for that, I don't want them sitting in the audience, so wondering if they had to present. Sorry.
No, it's great. Anybody else have any thoughts, comments, suggestions?
So we can certainly do that, go back to the master plan and see if there's any type of category that we should be adding, and I can send that out to the group.
I have a couple, and you can probably like clarify a lot of this right away, Fred.
Sure.
So I guess I would love to see some more specificity. One of the things maybe it's incumbent upon the applicant to know this, but should we just like spell out what the downtown business zoning district and the downtown planning overlay are? Just like a sentence that says what it is? I mean, we know what it is, but do you?
Yes, we can certainly do that. We can put a description of some sort on that, downtown planning.
I agree with you,
Yeah.
but I'm just wondering, does the applicant get the rubric?
I don't think the applicant has gotten the rubric in the past, albeit I did meet with somebody this past week or so, and I did share the rubric with
Okay.
them. I think that's a good idea, to share the rubric with the
I think
individuals.
that's a great idea in the interest of transparency and just
Yeah.
putting it all out there. I think that's a really good idea.
So if, and I don't believe it's on the site, but we can certainly add that to the website, the actual rubric. So it's not a secret. It's not like we're trying to
Right.
challenge people to guess what's on the rubric. We're really not.
It actually is. There's a PDF document. It's on the site. Yeah.
But we can, as we meet with the applicants, we can go through that,
Okay.
certainly so they know that.
All right. I'm just going to be nitty gritty here.
Sure.
Bear with me. So the first floor storefront, I guess that's part of the MVSP. Is that right? And that's why we're really pushing for that. Is that for visibility?
Yes. Well, that's tied into that. So there is a state incentive, especially downtown, if you have a vacant storefront for more than a year, which we have had two.
Right.
They can qualify for up to $10,000. It's a tax incentive. They don't actually get money per se. They get it off their taxes, I believe, is the way it works. But we then, as a committee, you can then match up to the 10,000. We've done one at 10 and one at 7,500.
Okay. So if it's like a second floor storefront, it's not the same. And is that because
That
of
is correct. It has
walkability
to be
or-
a first floor. But it's also broader in the sense that if there's other state incentives that they can get, or federal, whatever, if there's a match out there and it exceeds the $5,000, this committee is committed to also match that if they want to. They don't have to, but they can vote to go above the $5,000. And as I said, we've done it a couple times.
Right.
Does the applicants, is that shared with them? Like they know that other money is available, or?
It is.
Yeah, I think it's done on, it's kind of done on an individual basis, but it's out there too.
I think it is on, I thought it was on the website, but we'll check
Yeah.
that. And then, just my thoughts, and maybe this is coming from me as a very small business owner, but project will create 3+ new full-time jobs, or the next one is 7+ full-time jobs. God, even a three full-time jobs seems to me to be kind of a high bar. I mean, is that something we can, I don't know, what does everybody think about that? What if you're like a sole proprietor and it's just you and whoever else?
So
Well,
this
the-
is open to new business, right?
This
Just
particular one.
Just new
Yep,
business.
on the other side, we'll talk about the existing.
All right, yeah. So small business is usually 1 to 5.
Right,
So,
right.
I mean, it's more than that sometimes,
Right,
but it's
right.
1 to 5. But not everybody's going to create 3 jobs right
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
So, but is it 1 to 5, or can we say 1 to 5, or?
Well, presumably you'd have at least one employee.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah. Well, maybe then going down to the second line with 7+, maybe 5+, I don't know.
Well, that's fine. I mean, whatever
mean-
the committee thinks.
What does everybody think
And
about
you could
that?
do the other one at 2, perhaps.
Yeah.
you know.
I'd be comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree with that.
I think that's I think that's a really good point, Holly, because you look at some of those small downtown businesses, and as I'm thinking of some of them, adding 7 jobs to some of those small places would be a challenge. I mean, it's just not the type of businesses that would be creating 7 new jobs.
yeah.
So I like adjusting that.
Thanks, Karen.
Yeah, that almost runs in conflict with the saying how many locations they have overall.
my other question.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, okay, going back up to that for a second, the business has fewer than 3 locations or is a first-time franchisee. And what we're thinking behind that, just that we don't want multiple locations, or we didn't think that they would be requesting funding? What?
Well, again, I think it's the I don't want to speak for everybody, but I believe that the idea is that it's for a newer business. So if you have several locations in town, I don't know that we have any actually that have.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
3,
I
but-
agree with Fred's previous point that it's more to encourage,
Yeah.
Right.
independence as opposed to not penalize
Yeah.
chains.
Right,
Yeah.
because it's not qualifications
Right.
criteria,
Right.
it's just, it gives additional points.
Right.
So backing up one step, so everybody seemed to be on the page of 2+ and then 5+.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Just going back again to like the assistance from SCORE, SBDC, and CWE, can we just like write a line and say what they are? I mean, I think in the interest of like maybe helping out businesses sort of understand what resources are available to them, I just would love to make it like a little bit more specific.
Yeah, we can put another asterisk on there and just define what those are below, if you like.
I mean, I guess it's incumbent upon the people that are applying, but
Well, occasionally we will, especially with one of our ambassadors as part of SCORE, we'll occasionally ask businesses to reach out to those different organizations too, for help, so.
Well, the good news is, what you mentioned is, if they're applying for this and you're giving
Yeah.
them the rubric,
Mhm.
they're going to say that they've done work with any of these groups.
Right.
right,
So
yeah,
I obviously, we know what those groups do.
right.
Information about what they are is great to have links on their website and what they do, and they may
Yeah.
already do,
Yeah,
so,
Well-
but,
Yeah.
yeah, just information on who they are. I agree with
Right.
you putting as a link on our, we have those kind of links on our website, but I think on their website is important too, yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that speaks to the need that people don't come in to open a business blind, and we've all seen that happen.
Yeah.
So, how often do you run into people, Fred, that announce that they have a business plan in place?
Well, actually, we asked them for a business plan, but they'll go from nothing or 1 page to a very sophisticated business plan.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if, that could be added to that, or a comprehensive business plan, or something like that. Because, I've run into a lot of first-time business owners in my career, and some of them are well-prepared, and some
Right.
of them have no idea what they're getting into.
And we get the whole spectrum. That's certainly true.
Yeah.
it's included in the application though, specifically,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
We
Complete
do ask
business
for
plan
that.
for new
I thought it was
businesses.
part of the application, yeah. okay.
It is, but as I said, we'll get some that are, kind of like a building permit that are on a napkin, and we'll get other ones that
Well, I'm
are
just saying that,
well-documented.
the implication is by talking to SCORE, you've vetted your plan, and maybe that could be another way to say it, or you have a comprehensive business plan in place.
Well, and I think part of it is the position, the economic development person is also talking to them, so I don't think we're kind of throwing them to the wolves either. That's why, I don't know. I don't know how important it is to get too far into that weeds
Okay.
with that.
I think that's fair.
Question, are we able to validate, or are we just asking them whether or not they've spoken to any of these organizations?
It's a good point.
I mean, if I'm applying, I'm gonna say, you know, if it's 5 points, I'm gonna tell you I have. If
Yeah.
Well, I spoke to SCORE.
Right.
Okay.
I called.
I had a conversation, right.
Right, those organizations, well, I don't want to speak for them generally, but I know SCORE, they won't go into the privacy. They'll just say, yeah, we met with them, and no, we didn't.
Right.
They won't go into the particulars of what the conversation is, but
Do we check that?
can we?
Can we or do we?
We can. I don't know that we do. I think we take them for their word on that, but as I said, I know Peter's part of SCORE, so we can always check with him and the other organizations. I'm sure we can reach out to them, just make sure if somebody says they've done that they've in fact just talked to the organization.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, well, you're saying received business counseling. Is that a phone call? They met with an applicant?
Right.
So it's an interesting.
Again,
And maybe you would lower the point value a little bit, if that's the case. Is that the most important thing? That's 5
well,
points.
it's 5 points. It's
as low
not.
as it goes.
It's as low as it's going to go. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know if there was anything that would go higher.
I mean, you're right, Fred, we
Yeah.
don't want to beat this one, but I would just say that you could say something like, has developed a business plan with the assistance of local business business consulting organizations, or, you know, another resource. You know, and then that's the proof. I've come out of this with a plan that I can show you, whether it's on my own or whether it's through these organizations.
Well, so these organizations provide other resources beside business plans, though. They'll talk to them about, you know, marketing, whatever.
Yeah.
We've
Okay.
actually had some of them talk to them where we think the business plan is not really in the place, and they're kind of struggling just to get started, so.
Yeah.
We also have businesses that were very successful without a business plan. So,
Yeah, it's just,
you know,
Yeah.
it's just encouraging people that that's part of a successful
Right.
launch, you know.
agreed.
Could we consider perhaps having it be that they, since we may or may not be able to validate this, whether or not they've attended a one-stop session?
I like that.
Yeah, we can certainly add that to the line.
Yeah, I would maybe do it in lieu of, or add it to the line maybe.
Yeah, if they've attended a business one stop
Yeah.
through the town, that's fine.
It's smart. It helps
Yeah,
them set them
that's-
up for success. That's very
fantastic.
smart.
That's a good one.
Yep.
Sure.
All right, something else. Oh, last thing. Can we just put our mission statement at the top? Like, and, you know, this is what our goals are as the EDC, and through the use of these funds, with that goal in mind, sort of that it ties all back together, maybe kind of reiterating what you were saying, Christy, about the, you know, the,
The master plan?
yeah, thank you.
You want to
I-
add it to the rubric itself?
I think, I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I think it could be everywhere, but I think maybe some of these things I think the way that we've used the rubric in the past has always been more of an internal tool, and I think we're
Right.
talking about making it more of a external tool, which I think is fine, but I wonder if we sort of need to take some time to really look, if we're going to have
Yeah.
this as an external sort of marketing piece, maybe we should look at all of our marketing pieces for this program and see where it all fits. I mean, I don't think that's a bad suggestion. Like I said, I think it can be anywhere, but if we're trying to help the applicant with a lot of this stuff, then I wonder if maybe it's a different document or.
Yeah. I see it's on the top of the application, the purpose of the committee.
Okay, that's good. I'm fine with that.
I kind of agree with Christy on this, because we don't want to discourage new businesses. We want to encourage new businesses.
Yeah.
And I'm worried if we ask for proof of things, you know, instead of their word or something like that, then we're discouraging people, you know, and let them know that we're a good town and we trust them and we want to work with them and help.
I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I know we have some ambassadors here. Have we gotten input from them at all? And do any of the ambassadors have any thoughts, or if you don't now, maybe you want to get back and think about things a little bit? I don't know if that's, just so we have,
This is for new businesses only.
correct. We're going to go over,
Yeah, we have another
Existing.
rubrics for existing that we'll go over.
yeah.
You know, this is a chicken or the egg discussion, so we don't have to go that deep into it, but, you know, we're talking about making downtown more attractive, more walkable, but we're not really ready for outdoor dining. But, you know, is that a possible criteria that if someone's going to try to launch outdoor dining, that gets points? Or is that, we're not ready yet?
Well, so we do have I'm
You
sorry.
know, I think we're going to say the same thing.
Yeah, we do have a policy. It's just, we've had a couple businesses, Red Barn for one has taken the seating, but we haven't had a restaurant actually take advantage of the outdoor seating related to their restaurant. We've talked to a couple, Time Manila, one of them, but unfortunately they're not there right at the moment due to their fire. So nobody's really gone forward with that yet.
Right. So I don't know, I just remember when we were talking about the House Pizza and encouraging them to improve their outdoor dining situation. I think that was a real worthy goal in terms of making a walkable downtown.
Yeah, well, this is getting off path a little bit, but we are working through a downtown master plan, if you will. We don't call it that. Jenny will get mad at me, but, so planning department has applied for a grant to go to the next step on that. We're gonna get the initial report on that.
We could
So-
table that for a future addition, perhaps, to the rubric.
But I
Yeah.
think that it's a similar comment to the overall, the town's master plan, is that if it's meeting, I don't know that, you know, everywhere in town, we think outdoor dining should earn someone additional points, but I think to your point, there are certain areas where we want to encourage it, and so maybe just making sure that this reflects our goals.
I think the point being is that there's a lot of education that us helping marketing this and getting the information out that's saying, we want you to apply for it and not try to dissuade people. And then this is a work in progress document, right? Every year we'll look at it. We learn something every time somebody applies for it. And as new business starts looking at Westborough, and excited about that, and trying to fill downtown too. So I think we've got something here that's really a good document, and we definitely do not want to dissuade new business. You know, I hate when people look at this and say, well, I don't do this, this, and this, and I'm not going to apply.
Yeah.
That's the wrong way to look at it. We want people to apply.
Sure, definitely.
And then, doesn't mean that they can't come back next year. We don't know. So
Right.
I agree with not making it so difficult that they look at it and say, oh, I don't meet a lot of this rubrics. Because we often have a conversation about that, whereas I don't do this, this, and this. Well, you don't know who else is applying for this. So,
Good point. I think somebody wanted to.
I did have a question, kind of backtracking here. Forgive me if you guys talked about it and I missed it. But the two lines where it's talking about creating new jobs, is there like a timeline that they have to create them? Or, I know you guys were mentioning, you know, if they're gonna open other locations and if they're starting their first one, but they plan on having a second one, or, you know, in the first year, maybe they only bring on a couple people, but then the following year they're growing and they bring on 7 positions, you know, I mean, is it being looked at as a comprehensive goal of what they're gonna be doing with their business, or is it when they open their doors, they're gonna create this many jobs?
That's a good question. I don't think we really thought about it too much.
Yeah, it would be based on when they're opening their doors, because if there was expansion plans, they can always come back for additional grants too. Generally, if they're gonna expand their operations, they may need additional monies to, additional fit up, just more space, so that's a growth, so.
But this is good. These are the kinds of things that I think we wanted to talk about, just to kind of flesh things out a little bit more. I think it's gotten a lot, that Karen mentioned, and I don't think you saw the beginning of it. We didn't even have one in the beginning, so I think this is definitely, you know, we're headed in the right direction.
do you have an average amount of how many new businesses apply? I guess it all happens what's happening in town, right? Do you know what the average is that apply for
I
new
don't.
business? Or what it has been based on history?
I don't have that number in front of me,
That's
but it
okay.
hasn't been gigantic. Most of them have been existing. There's
Has
been
it
a
been
few.
more than 5 that have applied, or do you get a lot of response to it?
Yeah, we do,
Okay.
but, I don't want to quote a number because I
Definitely
don't.
exceeds the number of the amount of money that we have,
Right.
which isn't a good average number, but
Yeah.
we do get enough interest that we've actually recently increased the amount.
So when they go to One Stop, do they know, you guys hand this out and tell them when they're starting a business? I mean, they can go to the website, but how else do they find out about the grant?
Through this position.
Okay. Yep.
Generally, when there's outreach, anytime, or myself, whoever in the office, we talk to a business, especially a new business, we do tell them about the grant
Yep.
program.
Okay. Is the developers in town have this information too?
I'm sorry?
Any of the developers who are helping fill some of the storefront, do they have this information about this grant?
Well, that information's been passed on through the years. I don't,
Okay.
It's a good point. I don't know how often this position meets with all the property owners, but that's always a good point.
Yeah, only because it's such an attractive thing for anybody
Yeah.
who wants to open up a business here. Yeah.
Anybody else? I think that's good for the new. Let's flip on over to the existing business rubric. Thoughts, feelings, hopes, dreams, anyone? Okay, I have one. It's halfway down. Project adheres to but-for principle. The project would not take place without an award. I'm just wondering how they show this. And again, going back to what Karen said, we don't want to discourage, but, that's one thing that I've always found. Most of the time people say, well, no, we can't do it without this money. Okay, well, then you definitely need this money. But that's just kind of their word, so.
Yeah, more or less, unless they've already expended the money, which sometimes they have.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, that is a tough one. Some businesses can't, without the financing, they can't afford a piece of equipment or whatever it may be to increase their business.
Right.
This is Jennings. Is there a spot on the application that asks them to describe more information on that one?
I don't know. Good question.
No, I don't think so. I think that's just a conversation.
Well, most of the qualifications are not like for a tangible project, so to speak. And I don't know if there's any way to enhance the guidelines of a tangible project, because a lot of this stuff about, how many locations you have, where you're located, how long you've been here, are you a resident, those are all not project-based.
True.
So I don't know whether we can break up or enhance the project is for new signage, facade, or aesthetic improvements. That's awesome. Adding new services, that's awesome. But I don't know if there's other ways to encourage improvement as opposed to things that are already in position.
All right, two more. You can tell I had a lot of time in the car this week to look over all this. Maybe you guys can clarify this for me, because this has always been a sticking point for me. Businesses operate in Westborough 5+ years, 10 points. They operated 10+ years, 5 points. They operated 15+ years. So is that like cumulative? And that just seems strange to me. I don't understand that. Maybe I'm just not.
Well, if you've been in town, yes, it's cumulative. I suppose if you went away and came back, we could count it, but.
Yeah.
One of the rubrics, and I do apologize, the one that you have in front of you in paper doesn't have that 15+ years.
Oh, yeah. That's the old one I have.
Holly, do you
Yeah.
mean, can someone earn all three
Yeah.
categories? Yeah, I think that's some, I should have brought it up in the last, I thought that's similar to the other one where it's the number of employees. You earn both categories too. I agree
Right.
with you that it's a little odd.
Well, we can we could make one category. So to Dave's point, actually going back, you can certainly consider if the project increases, it's a piece of equipment. I mean, you can actually state that if you're purchasing a piece of equipment to improve or increase your business, you're increasing your space. So these aren't necessarily tied to the project itself. That's very true.
Right.
But you could have one category, just going back to what Holly was saying, is you could have one category that says, like, you know, business has operated in Westborough, and then you could say, just within that one line, you know, 5 points for 5+ years, or 10 points for 10+ years, or something, so that you get one or the other,
Yeah.
and not 25 points for
Yeah,
15 years.
yeah, I like that. That's kind of what I was after. Thanks, Christie.
You
So
know,
if we can-
item one, you could potentially break that into two categories, because the new signage and facade is exterior view.
Right.
But when we look at like the hair salon and like the flooring over at Central House, you know, improving, you know, interior function to improve customer experience. And also the toy store, same thing, was flooring, paint, and all that type of stuff. That could be a separate line item, so that they know that if their business needs a facelift inside, they could consider that. I think this way, when you say aesthetic improvements, I'm not really sure that they know that that could be to improve the customer experience inside.
Do we give those points for interior? I thought that one was to encourage the outside improvements.
Yeah, that's what that is,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, but I think I think, you know, I mean, the lady from the salon said that she hadn't, you know, had a chance to do a facelift for many years, and she knew she needed it, and she finally did do it, and it was just basic paint and flooring.
The
But,
interior, yeah.
you know, I think it upped her game.
I think I would agree with an additional category. I wouldn't give it as high points, because I think the idea is that, you know, it's the exterior is improving sort of the whole neighborhood, street,
I agree with that.
town.
So if we consolidate the 5, 10, 15 to, if you're 5+ years, you get 10 points. If you're 10+ years, you get 5 points, is one line.
I think so.
Yeah, that works, yeah.
So what, 5+ years, you get 10
10
points. 10+ years, you get 15 points.
Well, you can do it 15 or you get 5. I guess it depends.
Oh, well, I think it's for longevity,
Cute,
so the
yeah.
longer you're here, the more points you get.
All right.
Like, you wouldn't reduce somebody, because technically 10 years is also 5+ years.
Right, no, that makes,
is true.
that makes sense,
Okay.
yeah,
Right, that's always what I've been
yeah,
stuck on.
yeah.
That's fine, we'll do that as one line, and then, in lieu of the others, we could do another line that we want to encourage, like 5 points to encourage interior stuff or equipment, or,
I think it's good. I mean, there are some businesses here, it goes hand in hand with some of these smaller businesses that have been here 15 years, but, you know, aren't doing massive amounts of business. We don't want businesses that are maybe past their prime internally to not apply for it. Is that a good way to say it?
well, so interestingly, I had a business downtown just this week talk to me about, they want to do an interior facelift. Just for that reason, because they're approaching retirement and they're looking to the future, and so that would fall under that category.
Well, that's a good point, because if somebody's looking to sell their business and it's run down, it's less attractive to
Right.
continuation to the next person.
So I'll throw something in there about interior renovation, 5 points, something along those lines.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, Sean?
I guess, question, if we're done with that topic, and maybe another item worth considering, for existing businesses, whether or not the business is providing matching funds for the project. I think that there's some commitment by the business also when it's, but I don't know where it falls in here, because it sort of goes against the but-for principle.
Well, that's true, but that's a good point. A lot of times the applicant comes in, I mean, some of them do exceed the $5,000, so I can't say that's always the case, but.
I mean, just to play devil's advocate on that, is this something where they're using their funds to just operate on a day-to-day basis, and a facade improvement is a wish list item that they may not be able to afford any other way?
Right.
They may not have $5,000 to put towards it.
And we're not saying that prevents them from applying to the project, but do we give folks credit for actually putting in additional, that the project's important enough to them that they are also providing funding to the project.
Okay, yeah.
Worth considering.
So
Everybody
Fred,
likes
we're-
that idea, or,
I like that
Yeah,
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's skin in the game is a good thing, yeah.
so like a 5-point thing?
I think so.
Well, wait, to be clear, is it matching funds? I mean, in other words, if they're doing a $2,200 project, or they're asking us for $2,200, are we looking, because for them to be matching that, or just contributing toward?
So the project should be $4,400.
To earn the,
So
earn
that's
the
what I'm
5,
asking.
yeah, to earn the 5 points.
Yeah.
So they'd be matching our funds dollar for dollar.
That's a suggestion, but I mean, we could talk through that. If you don't give a percentage amount, then, you know, they could say I'm putting in $20, right?
Sure.
But Karen, are you thinking that that's just too high?
Well,
Flush that out.
no, I think that we can give them, we could give them points if they're matching it dollar for dollar. And not everybody's going to, and they don't get the points. I just wasn't clear on the suggestion. I might have missed the dollar for dollar, so
Yeah,
I was
and-
looking for clarification, so that's good.
Yeah, there could be multiple levels.
Yeah, no, I don't even think there has to be. I think like if you're matching it dollar for dollar, then we give you 5 points. I mean, that's a good incentive for today's point, the skin in the game. And again, it's a rubric, so it's a guiding set of, criteria that the committee can use. But it doesn't necessarily, excuse me, mean that just because someone ends up with 37 points and someone ends up with 33, that we're locked into, we can't give the person at 33 points money. It doesn't mean like the 37-point person has to get the money over 33, correct?
Yes. So the committee has often, Karen, kind of given the higher scores more money, and then as they go down the scores, they sometimes lessen the money. But you're absolutely correct. There's nothing in the rubrics. The committee doesn't have to go by the rubrics. It's just a guide.
So that was something I wanted to ask about too quickly, and then we got to move on to how often we're going to offer the grants. But so on our website, we do say that, this is a guide. Please understand it's intended as a guide. This means that even if your project scores highly on the rubric, like you said, Fred, it might not get funded if the board finds a different project more compelling.
Right.
And I understand this is a working document. I understand that it's, a guide for us to use, but I'm a business and I'm coming in and I see like my score versus someone else's score. And my thought is going to be if the board can arbitrarily just kind of select what they want because they maybe find another business more compelling, then I would say, why do you have the rubric to begin with? You know what I mean?
Well, yes, but I think the board's been pretty good up to now to
Yeah.
kind of use the rubrics, though. Again, they haven't disregarded it and just given somebody that's gotten no points, like 100%.
Right.
It's been more that you've leaned towards giving the higher points more money and then kind of whittling it down from that.
I think the way that it's written, the way that you just read it, just doesn't feel good.
Exactly.
I wonder if it should say that the rubric is only one portion of what the board considers, and I think the other piece of it is something that we talked about, which is that it does say on here that we strongly suggest that they come, but I think
Right.
we all collectively felt like you should come. So maybe the presentation is also part of the board's consideration or something.
That's a great idea.
I like
Yeah,
that a lot.
I do too. That's
Yeah, the
always
word more
fascinating.
compelling does not work, no.
All right, that's great.
We also make it very clear that it's a competitive process.
Right,
Yes.
And so, I mean,
bring your A game.
for us, the chamber, when we award scholarships, everybody's upset when they don't get one. It's a competitive process, and we have a rubric for what we give ours to. So
Yeah.
I get that. So language is important. I agree with what you said. Presentation means it's really important to them if they're going to come and tell us about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I like that.
great. Let's move on to reviewing the frequency of the grants awarded. We've talked about this. We've been doing it 4 times a year, roughly, and generally, I think the last few times we've done 15,000 per cycle, but we've always talked about whether we're going to change that or how we feel about that.
Yeah, so, and I'll mention it later on, but I would stick with the next month, reviewing the awards that we have in front of us. But this committee's talked off and on about whether you still want to do it quarterly. Certainly, whatever the committee feels, whether you'd rather go to every 6 months, once a year, something in between. It's kind of open to any of those options, I suppose.
I just keep worrying about the traffic jams, if you have 8 people applying at one segment, are they allowed to then reapply the next segment? I mean, because it would be a shame that we have, out of 8, we have 6 compelling, presentations, but we can't award much money to each one.
So you can reapply, but historically, that hasn't happened. It shouldn't never happened. It has happened, but infrequently.
Right.
So the worst case scenario, we had one quarter where we actually had 10 applicants.
Right.
And I forget exactly how many we awarded at that particular time, but certainly 10 applicants is a lot.
Yeah.
Right now, we're standing at about 5. So,
Right.
I'm going to play little Debbie the Dunce. How much a year can we give up? Can we give 60?
we hopefully
All right,
get
thank you.
60,000 a year. It has to go to town meetings, a recurring article, but in the last couple of years, we've gotten to 60,000.
That's wonderful. Okay.
So it's, again, it's up to the committee. You're not locked into spending the 15,000 per quarter. That's been kind of historically, you've done it, you've split the money up that way. But again, I don't really have an opinion either way. I mean, it's just kind of what the committee would rather see.
We don't know what's coming down
Yeah.
the line.
We don't, and I'm going to play devil's advocate with you, Dave, because I think if we have a good pool of applicants right out of the gate and we feel good about them and they score strongly, then I think the money goes there. I would, at some point, I'm going to make a motion to do it twice a year, but I know what you're saying. You don't want to leave good, viable businesses out, but at the same time,
Well, we've
There's-
called it the King Solomon effect.
Yeah.
Before, so
Yeah.
we obviously want to support every business in our town.
right,
But, we want to set it up in such a way so there's the cream rises, the people that have worked harder, that have adhered to the rubric, that make an impassioned presentation
Right.
should rise. And I just worry that if 9 people are competing for $15,000, a lot of people get left out. I've always kind of been an advocate of capping it, but I don't know the ins and outs of that, of like five per segment. Then it's easier than to cull through 10 applications at one time. I would suggest quarterly with a cap of 5 per segment, but I don't know the ins and outs of the capping.
I actually like quarterly.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting concept that you brought up, because we have a tough job to decide with a lot of new business or existing business what we want to give for money. And it is a competitive process. So if you cap it, this is what we have. Or if you just like, there's exceptions to the rule and we want to give money to certain people. But I like quarterly, because then we're meeting with business often, which I think is smart.
yeah,
And if we decide we don't have to give $15,000 out each quarter, just make it very clear that we don't have to give the $15,000 out.
yeah,
But it's hard to say I apply for money, you're not going to get any. So we can cap it and say, we're only going to give this amount.
yeah,
Devil's advocate for
Yeah.
scholarships, I have this amount of money.
right,
We give it all out,
right,
period. But it's not a problem. I get plenty of people that apply for it.
right.
It's not a problem. So I don't know what the application pool is every quarter. So are you just going to give it away because you have to give it away? Or we're going to give it away because it's important to the applicants that are there?
Well, if they're viable businesses, I think, and the plans are.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm thinking about twice a year is that there's a lot we want to accomplish on this committee, and we spend a lot of time on this, and I think this is a great resource that we provide, and something that's very much a part of what our goals are as a committee, but I think there's also a lot that we want to get done, and in my mind, I think if we streamline it to twice a year and we can really focus on a couple of meetings just to that, then we have time to do a lot of the other things.
Just a quick suggestion, we could also do it every 4 months and for 20,000 as the pool.
I like that.
So are these businesses, like, how urgent is this need? Like, I'd hate for somebody in June to be like, hey, I want to start this project, but the grant doesn't come up till December.
That is true. There are a lot of grants available, though, for people to apply to,
Okay.
but I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, with small business, it's always urgent.
Yeah.
It's just always urgent. The money's urgent. So, I mean, you know, if some of them come in and some of your criteria is for, you know, signage, facade, or aesthetic,
Yeah.
signage is important to a
Yeah.
small business. So to me, it's all urgent.
I personally think 4 months is a good compromise, but I'll throw it out to anyone.
I do like reducing the number of meetings that we spend on it, because right now it's 4 meetings on grants and essentially at least 1, if not 2 meetings on the year in review. And that's half our meetings for the year. So I agree with that. I do agree with Karen, the idea of making sure that we're touching base with businesses. Like, that is one of the benefits, and maybe but there's probably other ways that we can do that. I know that there's a lot of communities that don't offer anything like this, so so I understand that there's urgency and it feels urgent to get these things done, but I think even offering it twice a year is still a huge benefit here. So
I agree. Anyone want to make a motion? Dave, do you want to?
Well, let me ask
Which
you this.
motion?
So we've got potential edits to the rubric, to the timing. We're missing some people. Do we want to then have the vote on all of this? We can certainly confirm what our proposal is going to be for next week, but do we want to hold until September, when hopefully we have everybody
Yeah.
here?
Well, so I was going to suggest, I'm not going to change the rubric for September's meeting, because I have to make the edits and kind of get it out to the board. So I don't think that would be fair to try to monkey with the edits for September. Certainly, to Sean's point, we can wait until next month to decide on the frequency, because we'll have time. If we're going to go forward with September's meeting and the awards, because it's already in the pipeline. But after that, we can make both those changes. You know, I can get the rubrics out, and we can decide, everybody can kind of think about it, and we can put it on as an agenda item to take an actual vote on the frequency with the discussion today. So nobody's committed to make an absolute decision right now,
Okay.
if
sounds
that
good
makes
to me.
sense.
Yeah, I'd like to see some
Yeah.
other input
Yeah.
from some of the members.
Dave?
So I make a motion that we shelve this discussion, and we reconvene in September to discuss the frequency of awards and the criteria for the rubric.
Yeah, and I don't know if we necessarily have time in this September meeting to go back through, maybe it's October. I don't know, we'll have to see. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, I wouldn't get into a discussion with the rubrics again. I'll get it out to everybody, and we can kind of take that on October. But we can certainly, depending on the time, we can put it on an agenda item to talk about the frequency of the awards.
yeah, and you don't have to make a motion, so
No, okay.
we'll just see what you have time for on
Right.
the agenda.
That's great. That's some good discussion, though. I think we've been needing to do that for a while. And Fred, I know you just are sweating over there because you've got so much on your plate now. But I don't speak for everyone, but we can help you. I'm happy to help you, sit down with you, kind of work through some of these changes, and I'm sure other people are on the board as well.
I appreciate that,
Yeah.
Holly.
Okay. All right, thanks, guys. Moving forward, Fred's going to talk about, we're going to discuss the date for the September meeting because of Labor Day.
Yeah, that Labor Day week always seems to be a kind of a bugaboo. So I guess I'm taking a straw poll to see if people want to have it on the 3rd, or the day after Labor Day, if they prefer to have it on the 10th. It's kind of, if we can get a quorum, if we can't get a quorum together for the 3rd, then it kind of answers the question.
Can you send an email out to the whole committee to see what date they prefer? Because there's a lot of people missing, right? Is
No,
there?
it's not that many
Not many
people
people.
missing,
Sorry,
actually.
there isn't?
There's
Okay.
three,
Oh, that's
there's-
right, I'm sorry. Yep.
4, 5, 6 of us, so there's 9. There's only like Sandy's, I think,
Just
the only
Sandy?
one
Okay.
Yeah.
missing
Yeah.
right at the moment.
I think I'm good with is the 10th the second Tuesday?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that works for me, honestly. After a long weekend, I'd probably forget we had a meeting.
Well, that's sometimes the problem with September's meeting. Anybody in the virtual audience over there?
10th
I'm
is good
fine
for me.
with that date. Oh. Same.
Same.
Okay, so consensus seems to be September 10th. Thank you. And I've already mentioned it, we do have 5 applications to date on that. So, and there could be another 1 or 2 that creeps in. So we have pretty good amount of presentations for this September 10th. And I'll let the applicants know.
Thanks, Fred. Jenny, you're up. Planning Department report. Jenny?
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm here. Sorry about that. So not many new applications to report for the planning board. We do have 1 new application for 25 Nectar Road for August 20th, which is the conversion of the Sonesta Extended Stay Hotel into apartments. And that will be on the agenda, like I said, for August 20th. We have received the draft of the downtown plan, so we're reviewing that internally now. And once we send over our comments, that should be finalized and we'll distribute it to everyone. And we can also add an agenda item if you wish at the next meeting to talk about the economic development outcomes or recommendations that are part of that. The other thing that we have coming up is for the B-Wall. We have a public information meeting on September 11th to talk about Section 2 of the B-Wall. And I think that's all I have.
Thanks, Jenny. Fred, EDC updates?
Sure, and I apologize because you all think I'm lying, but Wayback Burger is hopefully opening any day. I was there a little over a week ago, and everything seems to be in pretty good order. They will have to train their staff for a while, so it'll be a little bit of time. But I'm anticipating them asking for final inspections, I hope this week. So there's no reason why they're not moving forward. As I said, the fit up looks pretty nice in there, and hopefully they'll do well. Dollar Tree is the same thing, and I'm not sure why they'll have to staff their people and all that, but that should be momentarily. I know I told you that last month, but I hope like heck it's this coming month. One thing I think I apologize for this. I don't know if we've always made announcements on upcoming events. Certainly we have 2. We have 2 ribbon cuttings. One is for the Circles of Joy, which is a new business on 21 East Main Street, Suite 1B, and that's August 21st, a Wednesday, at 5 p.m., and that's done by the Chamber. And September 4th at 5 p.m., another Wednesday, is 57 Main Street, is Family Dental. They took up the front end of what used to be a restaurant out there. So I'll try to make sure that we may or may not, we kind of get away from that, but I'll make sure that we get upcoming events out to people so if they can get to those things, that'd be great.
I'm going to CC you every time we send out a ribbon cutting in Westborough so that
Yeah.
you'll have it easily, all right?
But there's other events, I don't know that we always inform the committee that, even beyond the ribbon cuttings, but we'll try to make sure we put that on the agenda every month if we haven't already. I think sometimes we get lax on that, and I apologize for that. That's all I had.
Can I add something? So we've been doing our public input sessions for the community center. So we had several stakeholder meetings, including the staff of both the recreation department and the council on aging or senior center. We've had public stakeholder meetings with the Rec Commission and the Council on Aging. So those are available on Westborough TV. And then we've also had, we had a department head stakeholder meeting as well as a committee chair stakeholder meeting. So I would say the EDC was represented well at the department head meeting. By both Fred and Ben, not Ben, by Fred, sorry, wrong person. And so there was some discussion about, how the EDC might use that space. And then we had our last public input session last night. And so I think the architects have some really good information in terms of how they want to see that, how the community wants to see that space used. And then we expect around the 20th of this month, which is the select board meeting in August, that they'll be presenting 3 alternatives for that space. And then there'll be some additional opportunities for the public and this committee, if we feel it makes sense, to provide feedback to those alternatives, with the goal still being that we would go seek funding for the project at the October town meeting. So.
Holly, can I add one thing too? And I apologize, I should have addressed this at the opening of the position for EDC. I am I'm still getting Mark's emails, but if you know of anybody out there that's trying to communicate with Mark, if you just kind of get that word out too, that they can communicate with me directly, just so we don't lose anything in the weeds.
Comment. So at the last select board meeting, we took a vote on the community development director position. I guess that's
Yes.
official now, right? I
Yes.
don't know. So prior, Fred's job was community development director, but also head of the building department. We have now made those 2 separate positions. So now Fred is just head of the community development. He's just community development
just.
director. Yes, right, correct.
plenty of time to work on that,
Pardon.
That's correct.
With the, yes, understanding how big a role that alone is, right. So, want to add that here. So, yes, well deserved. Although I guess you already had the job, but well deserved.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right, it is, that's early. If nobody has anything else, I want to make a motion, I want to call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second?
We need to do a roll call. Kenny, yes?
Bagden, yes?
Chapman, yes?
Leonardo, yes.
Williams, yes.
Keo, yes.
Henderson, yes?
Rayleigh, yes.
Fingers, yes.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.